What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new Life Advice with Hunter. This is the show where I sit down, read questions from viewers just like you, and give you some advice on whatever is going on in your life. And today I want to talk a little bit about waiting for the perfect moment. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because there are a lot of people, specifically young people, that will make excuses as to why they're not chasing their dreams, why they're not doing what they want to do. And a lot of the times what it comes down to is people feel like they need to have the perfect moment sitting in front of them to go after it. And that could not be farther from the truth. The truth is that if you wait for that perfect moment, you're waiting to find your avenue, waiting for the perfect day to when you wake up and you feel like doing something, it's never going to come. And I, at times, have done this, right? And it's normal to feel this way because the truth is that when we find out that something is going to be hard to achieve, some people are just going to give up. And I don't want you to be that guy. I really don't. And for a long time, I kind of was too. In particular, with you know, I guess YouTube, kind of, you know, at one point in my life, and just in general, you know. A lot of people, when they hear that something is going to be difficult, when something is going to be a real challenge, when something is going to be like something that they're going to have to work towards, they immediately want to quit, right? That, you know, like if you tell somebody, okay, I know how I'm going to make you $1 million. And then they're like, their eyes light up, right? Oh, he's going to tell me the secret. Give me the one secret on how you make $1 million, right? And then you're like, all right, it's going to take 15 years. Like, most of those people are going to give up, right? Most of those people are immediately going to check out mentally, but you can't, right? And for me, it takes some time to realize that, but I think that the biggest piece has to do with motivation. And the truth of the matter is that motivation isn't a real thing, right? People talk about motivation like, oh, I don't have any motivation, right? Motivation is a temporary feeling. Motivation is something that happens every once in a while where you really want to get something done. For example, motivation is when you tell yourself, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to clean my room. Fuck it, I'm going to go talk to that girl. Motivation is something that is short term. However, there's a trick to this. There's a long-term form of motivation called drive. And the truth of the matter is that it's really hard to build. What it really drive is work ethic at the end of the day. If you're somebody that is afraid to take steps to better themselves, or you're afraid to work hard, then this may not be for you. And I want to be honest and tell you something that I heard a long time ago. If you don't think that you can do it, then you're right, you can't, right? And that goes for everything in your life. If you feel like this isn't for me, or you have doubts that, oh my God, I can't do this, then yeah, fucking quit now, you know? To quote my boy Jay Schlatt, you know, when people ask him about being a content creator, and he says, if you're already having doubts now, you can't do this. And he's not wrong about that. And I think about that about a lot of things in my life. There is going to be lots and lots of points in your life where you are going to feel like, I can't do this, I want to give up. But the truth of the matter is that once you work on your drive, and some people are built with it, but once you work with your drive and learn to improve, you're able to conquer literally anything, you know? The truth of the matter is that I think the best way to start is to pick something hard and do it, right? And I'm not talking, you know, I mentioned goals earlier, like getting $1 million and shit like that. Fuck that right now, all right? We're not talking about that. But what we are talking about is something that you've been putting off that you know is going to be hard, but something that you want to do, right? Something that's not going to be like a year-long goal, something that might be a couple weeks goal, whether if that's a personal project, whether if that's something in a video game, it doesn't matter what, but you need small accomplishments like this to work towards being able to accomplish those big goals that is going to take a lot of drive, because drive is something that you can learn. It's harder to learn. A lot of people are fortunately born with it. And, you know, I think that Gen Z in particular, you know, we've had a hard time not having drive, right? A lot of us don't have drive. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, for a long time in my life, I didn't. And it was really interesting because for me, it took up until middle school for me to understand that. You know, for me, I didn't give a fuck about school. I didn't give a fuck about any of it, right? I went in every day, left every day, and it was meaningless, right? That's how I felt about it back then when I was, you know, in middle school, in elementary school. And then I got to middle school and I did the same thing in 6th grade, but something just clicked with me where it was like overnight almost, where it's like, all right, I'm going to start working hard. And I think that a good part of it is looking towards people in your life that have also worked hard to get something, right? And lucky for me, I got multiple people in my life, right? You know, my dad started a business, and my dad's worked in that business my whole life, right? And it's not like he's like a billionaire or even a millionaire. It's nothing like that at all. But what he is that he's somebody that worked his fucking ass off, and like he didn't let anybody tell him that he wasn't going to be able to do it. My dad didn't graduate high school. My dad dropped the fuck out, all right? I'll tell you this story. My dad dropped out, and he was, you know, and he was just working, you know, he knew what he wanted to do. He didn't need high school. Now he got his GED because my grandma made him, you know, but, you know, for him, he didn't give a fuck. He just wanted to work. He was like, look, this is dumb. I'm not like, you know, and especially for him, his only joy at that point too in high school was football. And then he quit football, and he's like, all right, I'm just not coming anymore. Right. My mom, on the other hand, my mom, when I was in middle school, which this is one of the biggest factors, honestly, for me too here, is my mom was diagnosed with liver failure. And, you know, it was, you know, I was a young kid. I was in 7th grade when she was diagnosed, right? So for me, it was like, I don't want to use that comparison. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's a really scary thought, right? Because nobody knows what's going to happen. My mom's fine now. She's had a liver transplant. And I want to make it clear, too, my mom never drank. She wasn't a drinker. It was literally just caused by genetics, right? And so for me, it was like watching that happen and watching my mom have the drive and motivation throughout the whole thing to stay strong, to stay healthy, and then to get the transplant, feel good, and then, like, you know, be a full person, right? So that was one of the driving factors for me, was seeing people in my life that was able to overcome issues in their life, overcome who they want to be. And for me, I've always kind of looked at that, you know, I've talked about it, but with my disability, I'm legally blind, if you're new around here. And I've had several people, you know, talk to me and, you know, tell me that you probably won't do this, you won't do that. And I prove them wrong at every single step of the way, except for things that I literally can't do, like drive, right? Of course I can't fucking drive. But, you know, I've had multiple people tell me that certain things won't work out. And you got to be able to overcome that, you know. That's where that drive comes in, is that when someone tells you that you can't do something, what I want you to do is say, yeah, buddy, fucking watch this, right? And I think that is a really powerful skill, and I think it comes with doing small tasks, things that give you like a sense of accomplishment, right? You need to do things that give you a sense of accomplishment, give you a little bit of confidence, right? And, you know, for me, a lot of it can come from video games. I don't think that that's a bad idea. Go after that hard achievement that you've been putting off, right? You know, for me, for a long time, I never went after trophy hunting and shit like that, because I was just like, I'm not good, I'm whatever, this is so much work. Then I just started doing it, right? I started with something relatively easy. Well, I say quote unquote easy, but Elden Ring, right? That was kind of like the first game that I really did where I went for all the achievements. And since then, I've done a ton of games, right? And I think that is something really, really important to do, is to find something that you're kind of relatively good at naturally and use that as a way to build confidence. Use that as a way to build motivation. You need something that makes you excited, something that you enjoy, something that you can just naturally have fun with, that you are going to be able to turn into drive. And it can literally be video games, right? Because even if you look at it and be like, this is dumb, this is going to do anything for my life, it is going to help you with your confidence, right? If you get good at something, it makes you confident as fuck, brother. And I've said this before, but the key to confidence is getting good at something until you are able to beat somebody at it, right? Yeah. And like, it can literally be something that you're naturally good at. Video games, chess, it doesn't matter. But you just need to find something that you're naturally relatively good at and then just get better at it, right? Because you can always get better. There's really no ceiling to getting better. And I do mean that when I say that, right? Like, I've gotten good at stuff that I know that other people are good at and that I was kind of naturally good at. What, you know, an example of that is Guitar Hero for me. I remember growing up, I kind of, you know, I was a video gamer, so I kind of automatically understood Guitar Hero. But I was beating the shit out of my parents and my brother and you know, and it was like their only video game that they played. But I was better at it because it was something that I loved, and I was like, you know what? This is the thing that I'm going to be good at. You know what I mean? And I think that is super important to do. You need something to be able to compare yourself with others. And I know that some people will be, you shouldn't compare yourself to others. And that's true. You shouldn't to a certain extent, but also at a certain point, you need some sort of competition. If you have no competition, you have no adversity, you have no thing that you have to get around, no thing that you have to beat, no thing that you have to get better at, no thing like that, you're not a person, right? You're just really kind of stagnant. And that's the big point about, learning to cope and learn how to get better at things and chase your dream is by doing those things that make you better. The reason why is because when you're able to, work on your drive, feel like nothing can stop me, nothing will stop you, right? You're going to be able to achieve whatever the fuck you want to achieve. And that is something that's super important, right? If you can't create something or you give up right away, you're never going to be able to do anything. You're always going to be that middle management wage slave that isn't anything beyond that. And that's fine if that's what you want to be. But I don't want you to be that. There's so much more to life. There's so much more that you can be. It just takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of time. And it's tricky and it's hard. But when you learn how to do it, it becomes easy. It's like it becomes second nature once you do it a couple times, once you finally experience that feeling, and you just keep pushing, and you will always push. You have to always push. You have to be always improving. You can't be stagnant. That's the other thing. If you want to do this, you got to be ready to always be improving. You can't just, achieve one goal and then say, fucking, I'm done. I've had enough. No, brother. You don't stop. You never stop, and you never will stop. That is one of the biggest things that you have to remind yourself when you're going for big goals like this. But anyways, guys, I just kind of wanted to talk about that today, and work on your motivation today, guys. Start building some confidence and start working on your drive. But yeah, guys, as always, if you want to submit your own question, you can do so by going down into the link and finding the Google form link, or you can join our Discord, ask me there, or you can ask me on social media. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.